CFA is the majority of my students struggle with setting up word problems.
Okay. Setting up word problems.
Or setting up and solving them.
Okay. And that was your number 9, right?
Yes, that was one of them.
So you had 5, how many students?
5.
5 students got that right. Out of
97.
97. So what do you think that they, what was the word problem? Let me see. Is that the one of the drama department?
No, that was the area curriculum.
Okay. So what are some disconnects you think they're making, or maybe some misconceptions they had about their word problem, or do they just not know how to set up word problems? What do you think?
I think they know how to set them up, but with this one, because it dealt with the perimeter and it wasn't all words, where some of them will say they have so many of this item and so many of this item and it equals this, it gives them more information. For this one, they did have to remember that the perimeter of a rectangle is 2L plus 2W.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that they had to remember, and it's concerning to me because I know a lot of times these types of questions are on the assessment, where they do have to, they give them a perimeter or area problem, they have to substitute that information in.
That makes a lot of sense. So a lot of them just probably is missing miss the lesson or miss the skill to be able to identify parameter and area. Okay. Okay, we'll revisit that to think of some, let's think of some things that we can do to maybe get them that skill that won't take away from you teaching them new lessons as well. And then you had number 7, where only 1 got that right out of the 97.
But I think that was a problem with the labeling.
Oh, that was, okay. So that's the one we weren't going to.
So the next one was number 5.
5, okay.
That's where, and that was another word problem.
Word problem, okay.
But 43 of them were able to get that one correct. And as I said, when I compare the two, this one gives them more information and they're able to read the problem and figure it out, as opposed to having to remember that the perimeter is 2L plus 2W. In this problem, they're able to read and pick out all the numbers and set up the problem and solve it.
Oh, okay, so it basically, if they're given more information, it seems like they're able to make the connection. That's good, okay. So we'll look at that most definitely.
Also might be a geometry issue. A lot of students didn't have middle school teachers, so that element of geometry in 8th grade math, 7th grade math, they may have missed out on. So making that connection could be difficult.
That's true. Okay, so let's move to yours, Mr. Walker. So yours was number 9 and 6. So what were some things you noticed for question 6?
So question 6 requires students to graph 2 equations and find the point of intersection. And that point of intersection is a solution to the system of equations. One of the equations was not in slope-intercept form, so that requires students to solve for a variable and then graph.
Okay.
And I do believe a lot of students have to disconnect there. And then the only other misconception some students have is actually labeling coordinate points.
Yeah.
Some of them don't recognize which is the X and which is the Y axis, or which is the X and which is the Y coordinate, and that'll cause them to label a point backwards, which will give them an incorrect answer.
Okay.
And I think we could get a lot more practice will cause them to master that skill.
Getting those X and Y coordinates, probably with graphing more.
Okay. We have a lot of applications like Delta Math that we can use for that, and just assign them a few extra problems.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to use. I have a lot of parents telling me that when they see their students on Delta Math and Khan Academy, that they're able to even touch on their skills and they're able to help their students with this work, because I even have to look at it.
Those applications give students instant feedback.
Yeah.
You can't beat that. You know, as much as you can send home a homework sheet and let a student work on it and bring it back to you, but then they have to wait for you to grade it or have to come to you with questions, whereas here they're getting instant feedback, right or wrong, and they can see an explanation.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely do that. Maybe we can send that out in our newsletter and post it on our website to let the students know and the parents know that those are some tools that's out there. And number 9.
So number 9 was a system of equations.
Okay.
Both equations were given in standard form.
Yeah.
Students were, the best strategy for a student to use in this situation would be elimination, where they would combine both equations and then solve for a variable. It looks like most students are having an issue where when they eliminate, they don't recognize that one of the variables should disappear.
Right.
One of the variables should cancel itself out. This particular problem, there was no multiplication required. Just simply adding one equation to the other would have canceled out one of the variables. You solve for the variable that you have left, and then substitute that value back in to find the other variable.
And I see that you had 14 get that, and 48 didn't.
So
Go ahead.
the 14 that did get that, when I look at those are students who are more or less high end,
Okay.
and they already have a higher grade in my class, complete their work the majority of the time. So I anticipated them getting that
You
question
did.
correct.
Okay, so that was a turn. So what that was going to bring me to the next question. Well, what were some trends that you all noticed or surprises that you all saw?
Number 4
Number 4.
on my test,
Okay.
I had a large amount of students, 52 out of my total were able to get this question correct, and
Wow.
they were able to just identify the correct set or the correct system of equations that went along with the word problem, which is great. Which means they can read from context and understand what's supposed to happen,
Right.
but there may be a disconnection
Misconception.
where they can't create this problem on their
Okay.
own.
They're creating. Okay. What about you, Dr. Will?
So I'm getting ready to look up
Okay.
something.
That's the same thing that we could do for all of this, though, was just give them extra intervention with the apps and more practice, homework, I would say, or putting them with a peer person like those 14 students could be with the other 48 and maybe some type of group setting for all classes, and just put stronger kids with weaker kids and just help them practice it, or even how to put it in their graphing. Like, I know that's a skill I had to get help with, just being able to put it in the calculator a certain type of way.
So one of the things that I'm surprised, but not a whole lot, is the student that we had the 504 meeting about. And he's a very good problem solver, and he doesn't use traditional methods to solve.
Right.
But on the questions where it asks which one of these 2 equations can be used to solve something, he didn't get those correct.
Wow.
And that's because he doesn't think that way.
Right.
And and we've allowed him, in terms of the 504, to be able to come up with an answer according to his accommodation. But I see that he struggles when he has to pick that information out, because it's forcing him to think in a way that he doesn't normally think.
And I know this is when we talked about that. What did we say? We were gonna put him with someone or a group at certain times?
If he wanted to be, he had
wanted
the
to
option.
be. Okay.
If he wanted to.
And see, that's something that we really do need to visit, because on test, he's gonna have to know how to set it up. 'Cause even though we know he knows how to solve it in his head, but that has to go on paper at some point, right? So that's something that we could talk about later on. And so now that we've talked about these areas that we know that students are having difficulty doing, what are some things that, well, we've already said it, but to move forward and to help them be able to grasp the next skill? So like right now, I know you all are working on solving systems of equations and common formative assessments, so that we know that they're having issues with maybe formulating or creating word problems or graphing. What are some things that we could do to help them move forward?
So, being that time doesn't allow us to go back and fully reteach lessons, what I'm thinking about doing is, when students come in, our do now will be a reteach. Where it's quick, 5 to 10 minutes, and
I like that.
a quick review of a skill. And we can do that day to day. Also allowing students to lead a little bit of instruction, because
Mhm.
sometimes hearing it from another student
Yeah,
helps more than hearing it from me. We'll see how that works.
I think those are great points. You agree with that?
I do. He mentioned that in the Delta math, and the other thing I want to point out is math is repetitive.
Yeah.
But although they didn't get it now, we'll be doing similar things with solving systems of inequality. So it will come back up, the problem solving, the word problems, and being able to set up and solve different things will come up again.
Okay.
Even like he said, they do struggle when they have to put it in slope intercept form, but when we talk about inequalities, they're gonna have to start doing that again. So we will reintroduce that information.
Because one lesson ties into another, and that's what we're trying to get them to understand. Even with pre-algebra, they needed that to be able to grasp algebra, and they're gonna need algebra to be able to grasp geometry. And that's what I try to tell our students who come to me and say, well, why do I need to take this? Well, because you're gonna need that skill to move on to the next skill. So it's good that you all are having that talk, that language dialect. So we had a great talking points here. So some action items that we're gonna do that I have at the bottom. So when we're gonna implement this, I said December the 15th. And I feel that we can reconnect and follow up with that on January 15th after the break. And just see if those extra interventions and extra practices and repetitiveness is helping them grasp these concepts. That's cool? All right, so we'll go from there. Anybody have anything else they want to add before I conclude?
That's it.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
You're welcome.